Hey everyone, it's Megan. Welcome to my Select May wrap-up as well as a very select June TBR. I read around 12 or 13 books this past month, but like I said in my last video, I really want to focus on the books that I really enjoyed instead of going through every single book that I read, because I felt like the wrap-ups were getting too long and I wasn't really putting as much as myself in them. Same thing with the TBRs. I will sort of try to do them, but I think I will try to combine them with my wrap-ups from now on to just have one singular video, and it's going to consist of books that I absolutely like them. I'm either currently reading or am completely devoted to reading that month, whereas before I was just picking up books that like I'd had on my shelves that I sort of wanted to get to. Maybe I'll get to them that month, but I truly believe that your channel is what you make it, and I just wasn't happy making the standard, doing what everybody else was doing for the wrap-ups and TBRs, and I found that I was skipping them for months because I would get so busy and I would just not have time to do them, or they felt like a chore. So this way I'm going to try this for the next few months and hopefully it'll work out better, but enough of my rambling, on with the books. So excitingly enough, I'll just put a little picture here of the lovely Miss Drew. I got through books 9 to 17 in the Nancy Drew series. I'm moving right along with them. They only take me like a day or two to read, so I read them, like the bulk of them, on my commute to work and during my lunch breaks and everything. I can get through them really quickly. I love them. I love eating them like candy. They're so addictive and I just love them so much. I also completed Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I got through that really quickly in the beginning of the month. I just devoured it and went through it, partially because I wanted to get it over with because I hate Umbridge so damn much, and partially because this is, I think, my least favorite book in the series. I love them all, but this one is my least favorite, partially because I don't agree with how angry Harry gets in this book. Some people find it sexy, some people find it understandable. I understand his anger to a point, but I find that he goes above and beyond to be angry, and at times he gets incessant and repetitive. And I think I read somewhere that from an editor's perspective, that book could be 100 pages shorter. Like, there's repetition and stuff like unnecessary content, or like partial storylines that start to go somewhere and then don't continue. And I read that as I was reading it, and so as I was going through, I started to agree with that. But that doesn't change the fact that I love the book. I still just, I would say it's my least favorite, and I do agree that it could have been shorter, but who wants the Harry Potter books to be shorter? I mean, really. I only got through 2 Dear Canada Diaries this month. The first is Flame and Ashes, The Great Fire Diary of Triffy Windsor. This is based in St. John's, Newfoundland in 1892, and this is the first and only real major, to my knowledge, fire that happened in Newfoundland. And I don't know too much about Newfoundland, so this was great. I read this a long time ago when it first came out. I think it came out like 2 years ago in September or something, and I only read it the one time. I didn't really retain it. This time I really did, for its historical value, and I found it fascinating. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And the other one that I read is Orphan at My Door, The Home Child Diary of Victoria Cope by Jean Little, one of my most famous Canadian authoresses. She is fantastic. And this, I believe, was the first Dear Canada Diary written in the series, and as such, it was a pretty thick one. But it's always been my favorite. It's always been the one that I have read the most. And it's about Bernardo Home Children. Dr. Bernardo was a man in Peterborough, I believe, who ran a school or a home for orphaned children or abandoned children that came in from England, and they would go to people's houses to help out, basically, or to just be adopted. And so Victoria Cope is a child living in 1897, and there's a lot going on with her family, some of it she doesn't quite know about yet, and they have a home child who comes to live with them, and they don't really like each other at first and think they're from 2 different worlds, but then they become best friends. And it's a surprisingly dramatic one. There's another story. Her brother has been adopted by abusive people, and so they're worried about him and trying to get him out of that situation. It was really dramatic at points and suspenseful and twisty, and it was really good. It's always been my favorite. It always will be my favorite, and I haven't read it in a couple of years, so it was really great to reread it. So that is it for the books that I read over this past month. For the month of June, there are a few books that I am either like in the middle of or started reading, or that I know I'm going to get to, Included in that is, of course, the Dear Canada Diaries, because I still hope to truck along and read at least 2 or 3 this coming month. And the Nancy Drews, I'd love to see if I can complete them well before the summer is finished, but that'll, depend on things. I don't own all of them. I only have another few, and then I think I'm going to have to rely on the library to pick up the rest of them, so that'll be interesting. But as for books I'm currently reading, I have here The Most of Nora Ephron. Now, I got this book like 2-3 years ago at Christmas time, and I got through a lot of her journalism pieces here, but then it got to the 2-act play Lucky Guy, and I never heard of it and I didn't know anything about it, so I just literally stopped reading and put it down for a year. But I decided that I really, really want to complete this summer. I felt a resurgence of love for her. She died in 2012 of cancer, and she is probably my #1 lady filmmaker of all time. You've undoubtedly seen her work. She wrote and directed Julie and Julia, we're going backwards here. When Harry Met Sally, You've Got Mail, Sleepless in Seattle. She was just a fantastic comedic director, but she is also done everything, in terms of writing. She wrote a novel, Heartburn, that she then directed into a movie, and it's about her divorce. She did the screenplay for When Harry Met Sally, which was directed by Rob Reiner from All in the Family, if you didn't know that. She's just a really fascinating woman, and when she passed, they did this wonderful big anthology of her work, showing her from all different sides of her. I believe after this, there are essays from her personal essays or foodie related essays, because she was a foodie as well, so I'm really excited about that. And so I started the screenplay of When Harry Met Sally, which is a movie I love so much, so I think I will have little trouble getting through this, but it will be very nice to say that I've completed it. I have also started Eat, Shoots, and Leaves, The Zero Tolerance Approach to Punctuation by Lynn. I got this because I wanted to learn more about rules of punctuation, but it's turning into more of a excuse the word, bitch fest for people who have lousy punctuation. And it's really funny. I'm actually just on the intro. I read a foreword and I read the preface, and now I'm into the intro. And I've laughed so many times and had to pull aside Matt and be like, listen to this. Yeah, it's so hilarious. And for punctuation freaks, if you're a heavy reader, obviously you're gonna notice bad punctuation and it's gonna piss you off. It does for me. So this I've just found really, really funny, and I can't wait to finish reading it. I also started reading Elsewhere by Gabrielle Zevin. This is the same author as The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery, which is a book that I truly loved, and she's written a bunch of books, but this is the second one by her that I will have read. I'm reading it because my sister shoved it in my hands and told me that I needed to read it. It's an older book, and I believe it's about this girl, Lizzie, who died, and seems to be on a boat going to the underworld or something. I don't know. Or maybe she doesn't realize that she's dead. I just started reading it. I'm like a chapter or 2 in. But she has a pug named Lucy, and so I was immediately invested. I'll be interested to see how this turns out. So that's it. Those are the books that I read over the past month, and the ones that I am going to definitely be getting up to this month. Please comment down below and let me know some of the favorite books that you read during the month of May, and the books that you're planning on reading in June. And I guess that's it for this video today. I shall see you guys soon with a new one. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye, everyone.